Welcome to Myra Fairy Tales.
Long before the world learned to hurry, before clocks ruled the days and nights, there existed a kingdom where time moved gently, as if it respected the rhythm of human hearts. The land was shaped by rolling hills, quiet rivers, and forests so ancient that the trees seemed to remember every footstep that had ever passed beneath them. In the center of this peaceful realm stood a castle of pale stone, its towers rising like guardians against the sky. Within those walls lived a king and queen who were admired not for their power, but for their kindness. Yet, for all their blessings, sorrow shadowed their happiness. Year after year passed without the laughter of a child in the halls. The queen often stood at the castle window, watching mothers walk through the market with children tugging at their skirts, her heart aching with a quiet longing she rarely spoke aloud. The king, though strong and wise, felt the same emptiness. At night they prayed together, not for wealth or victory, but simply for a child to love. One evening, while the queen walked beside a quiet lake near the castle gardens, she spoke her wish aloud for the first time. The water shimmered strangely, and a soft breeze brushed her face as if answering her prayer. Not long after, joy filled the castle at last. The queen was with child. When the baby was born, the kingdom celebrated for days. Bells rang, lanterns glowed through the night, and people danced in the streets, grateful that hope had returned to their royal family. The princess was named Aurora, for she arrived at dawn, when the sky glowed pink and gold. From her first breath, she seemed touched by warmth itself. Her eyes were bright, her laughter gentle, and even as an infant, she brought calm to those who held her. To honor her birth, the king and queen planned a grand celebration and invited the fairies of the realm to bless the child. These fairies were ancient beings of magic and balance, each possessing gifts that shaped destiny. But in their excitement, one mistake was made. One fairy, old and bitter from years of isolation, was forgotten. At the celebration, magic filled the air like music. One fairy gifted Aurora with beauty that reflected kindness rather than vanity. Another blessed her with a voice that soothed pain and lifted sorrow. Another granted her wisdom and grace of spirit. Each gift settled upon the child like invisible light, weaving a future of goodness. Then the doors flew open. A hush fell over the hall as the forgotten fairy entered, her dark robes trailing behind her like storm clouds. Her face was sharp with anger, her eyes burning with wounded pride. She looked not at the child, but at the king and queen, and in her voice was centuries of resentment. Without mercy, she cast her curse. She declared that before Aurora reached her 16th birthday, she would prick her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel and fall into eternal death. Terror swept the room. The queen collapsed, the king begged, and the guests stood frozen as the fairy vanished in a swirl of dark magic. But before despair could fully take hold, the youngest fairy stepped forward. She had not yet given her blessing. Though she could not undo the curse, she softened it, declaring that Aurora would not die, but instead fall into a deep sleep that would last 100 years, broken only by true love's kiss. The king acted swiftly. He ordered every spinning wheel in the kingdom destroyed. Spindles were burned, wheels shattered, and the word was carried to every corner of the land. But fear still lingered. Determined to protect his daughter, the king entrusted Aurora to 3 kind fairies who would raise her in secrecy, far from the castle and the curse that waited there. Aurora grew up in a small cottage hidden deep in the forest, known only as Briar Rose. The fairies loved her deeply, though they struggled to raise her without magic, often resulting in humorous mishaps. Despite their clumsiness, Aurora grew into a gentle, curious young girl who loved the forest as if it were part of her soul. She sang as she walked, spoke to animals as friends, and dreamed of a love she felt certain awaited her beyond the trees. On the morning of her 16th birthday, Aurora wandered deeper into the forest than ever before. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, and birds echoed her song. As she sang, a young prince named Philip, riding through the woods, heard her voice and followed it. When they met, something unspoken passed between them: recognition, wonder, a feeling that time itself had paused. They talked and laughed, sharing dreams without knowing each other's names or destinies. Philip felt as though he had found something he did not know he had been searching for, and Aurora felt the same. When they parted, both carried the moment in their hearts, unaware it would soon be tested. That evening, Aurora returned to the cottage where the fairies revealed the truth, that she was a princess and that she must return to the castle that very night. Fear filled her heart, but she trusted the love that had guided her life so far. As Aurora stepped into the castle halls, shadows stirred. The dark fairy, who had waited patiently for 16 years, felt the curse awaken. Disguised as an old woman, she lured Aurora to a hidden tower where a single spinning wheel remained. Drawn by a force she could not resist, Aurora touched the spindle. The curse took hold instantly. She collapsed into sleep, and sorrow returned to the kingdom. The fairies, heartbroken, placed Aurora upon a bed of silk and cast a spell that caused the entire castle to fall asleep as well, so that no one would age, no one would suffer, and Aurora would not awaken alone. The dark fairy surrounded the castle with a forest of thorns, thick and dangerous, sealing it away from the world. Years passed, then decades, then a full century. The kingdom faded into legend. People spoke of a sleeping castle hidden behind thorns, but few believed it real. Many tried to find it, but none succeeded. One day, Prince Philip heard the tale from an old man by a fire. Something stirred in his heart, a memory of a girl in the forest long ago. Guided by fate, he sought the hidden castle. The dark fairy tried to stop him, summoning illusions and shadows, but courage and love carried him through. When Philip reached the tower, he found Aurora sleeping, untouched by time. He knelt beside her and kissed her gently. The spell broke. Aurora awoke, the castle stirred, and life returned in a rush of color and sound. Bells rang, flowers bloomed, and the thorns withered away. Love had triumphed not through force, but through patience and faith. Aurora and Philip were married in a celebration filled with joy and gratitude. The king and queen embraced their daughter, knowing their long trial had ended. Aurora ruled with kindness, remembering the long sleep and the value of time, patience, and hope. And so the story of Sleeping Beauty was passed down through generations, not as a tale of a curse, but as a reminder that even the longest night must yield to dawn, and that love, when guarded with courage, has the power to awaken not just one heart, but an entire world.